Hello everyone, how's it going? Hope you're all alright. In this video, we are learning how HR departments go about measuring the employee performance. Now remember, it's up to the HR department to first determine what are the objectives of each employee and then making sure that they have all the tools in place to help the employees achieve those objectives by the end of the year. And if the employees continue to perform, if they continue to do well, of course, you will have to reward them through the financial and non-financial rewards. So the question is first, how does the HR department go about measuring employee performance? Well, that is done through a process called employee appraisal. What is employee appraisal? Simply checking that the objectives that you were given at the start of the year as an employee, were you able to achieve those by the end of the year? That process is called employee appraisal. So you're looking to see to what extent were the targets met by all individual employees at their level. If there were any skills that they need to be given, if there's anything that they've been lacking in, then those will also be highlighted during these meetings. And look, I think you need to up your game, and this is a part of skill training that we'll have to assign to you. So that's all part of employee appraisal. And if there's any appropriate training that is given to your workers, that is all decided during this phase of employee appraisal. Now, employee appraisal is a simple conversation between the worker and their bosses, which also includes the HR department. So there are three parties involved. And during those meetings, you're simply trying to see how much of your targets were achieved. And if not, what can the company do in the form of providing you training to upgrade your skills. And as a result, if you have met all your targets, then you get your promotions, you get your financial incentives, you get your bonuses. All the good things, financial and non-financial in nature, that you want as a worker are then rewarded to you if you've been able to achieve all your targets. So first stage is assessing whether you have met the targets or not, if your performance has been up to par or not. So, what are the methods that company use during this process of employee appraisal? Well, one method that they use is a calculation called labor productivity. And we've seen this appear many times before in our discussion on HR. This is a method used to see how much your workers are producing on average. So, output per worker in any given time period, that's what labor productivity is. And the simple way to calculate it is to take your total output, divide that by the total number of workers. So if you have 10 tables made by 2 workers, then per worker labor productivity is 5 tables. And you try to calculate this for each year, for each appraisal cycle. And if the average number of tables made went up from 5 to 7, for example, that means that the productivity per worker is improving. That means your output is improving. And when things are going well, you must reward your workers. If they're not going well, you need to train and motivate your workers so that they can look to upgrade up their labor productivity. And for a business, what they should be looking to do is to keep a fixed salary. So decide it once a year and try to maintain it the rest of the year, and look to help increase your labor productivity for all workers, giving them more training, giving them more better equipment, more technology will help them to be more productive while you don't have to pay them more salary. That's the way to become more productive and more profitable at the same time. Another measure that companies look at is the level of absenteeism. And of course, this is a measure which tells you how many days you missed because your workers did not show up. And this is seen as a percentage, and the way to calculate it is number of employees absent divided by total workers into 100. And you want this number to be as low as possible because you want your workforce to be motivated. And a motivated workforce will take fewer days off, and it'll keep your absenteeism levels at a minimum. And of course, this is also one of the things that our theorist of Herzberg said in his hygiene factors, that you need to make sure your workers don't get any more demotivated. Forget about motivating them, that's another game, but you must make sure that the current level of motivation is at least being maintained so that they don't want to be absent on work days. So we've seen how the appraisal cycle will help you to identify whether your workers have been performing to the expected levels or not. But if they aren't, then there must be a process in place where you're able to identify what is causing the loss of output, what is causing the increased absenteeism, what is it that's getting in the way between the workers and the objectives. And just identifying the causes is not enough. You've got to really understand what it's costing to the business. And if you understand that cost, then you'll do everything to make sure that you correct it right away. So let's look at the costs and the causes and the corrections that businesses could perform to improve employee performance. Now, why would your workers be demotivated? Why might they be low output? Well, it could be because of lack of relevant skills. Again, that's something that the business has to take responsibility for. Maybe they weren't given enough training, and that's why there's a lack of relevant skill. Maybe the company hasn't invested in the right kind of equipment, and you're asking too much from your workers. Just poor motivation from poor financial rewards, perhaps not being given enough delegation, not enough job enrichment. And if you're not happy with the pay structure that's being given to you, your financial rewards are not being given, then there's no way your workers will feel compelled to improve their performance. Now, all of these can have some dire effect on the business. If all of this continues, if you have lack of relevant skill, you know that you'll have low output, your workers will be slow. If there's not enough training, they won't know what good quality product is, so they might be poor quality. With inadequate equipment, you may not be able to meet your orders, so there might be loss of orders and revenue, which is not good. Poor motivation may mean that they're not looking at the quality of the product, which means more wastage. And if you're not getting paid well, there's no way you're going to be motivated, as Mr. Frederick W. Taylor has taught us. So what do? There are corrections that you can perform as the HR department to at least reverse some of these effects on the business. And what you can do is you can have training programs which tries to upgrade worker skill levels. You can invest in better equipment. You can give them better financial rewards. You can have the constant review of their performance and try to make sure that you're always there in case they need any support. And by simply using better waste management techniques, better lean production techniques, will also make sure that your workers are performing well. So, if you are facing the problem of low output, perhaps upgrading the equipment is the way forward. If there's poor quality, maybe you need to constantly review it so that you're able to find the faults whenever they occur. If there's loss of order, maybe workers are not able to focus properly, you need to have better training programs. If there's increased wastage, well, that's what lean production teaches us, to reduce wastage. So using that would be a way to do it. And if your workers are not being paid well, then of course there's nothing better than to give them higher financial rewards. So as you can see, these methods can be used in many different ways. The same way training programs being used to cure this problem, we could also use this for low output or demotivation. So multiple correction methods can help you solve multiple problems that are caused because of these factors here. As long as companies can follow through on this process, they'll be able to help all the employees achieve their individual targets. And remember, once they all do their jobs, eventually the company starts achieving their own target as well.